Okay, welcome back, everyone. This is Script Miss 2026, I guess we call it. Script Camp Christmas, and there's like a little pitch type of event and workshop at the end of this. But really, this is kind of just the wrap up and celebration of another year of writing and finishing scripts and finishing those boot camps and moving on to the next one and building up our portfolios and working on the skills that we need and just celebrating all the progress we made this year. And so we'll be starting with a little presentation on history of Christmas entertainment and going into different subgenres of Christmas type of stories. We will maybe touch on other holidays here and there if anybody knows more about those sort of like holiday linked entertainment genres, but we're mostly focusing on Christmas today because that I think is the most defined sort of feature film holiday genre. If you've not already joined, you can check out our website, Skill Camp at skillca.mp. We're a nonprofit that offers these free and low cost classes in terms of training, reskilling, and business development education, focusing on the underserved communities. Our biggest one is Script Camp, which has, gosh, I think we're at about 7,000, coming up on 7,000 members now. But with many other camps to choose from, you see all the other different events that we run. WordCamp is our second biggest with novel classes, usually in this time slot every week, Saturdays from 12 to 2. Game Camp is our newest one with game design events Wednesdays from 12 to 1. All these times are in Pacific time. Check those out and sign up for membership to get unlimited access to all these, every event and class on every server if you've not already done so. What do you guys think of this? Santa stole our dog. They don't even
Okay.
they don't even look that sad about it. I don't even know if this is a real poster or is this just like an AI poster?
AI generated.
I truly can't tell. I looked close and it's
It,
hard to tell nowadays, but I just thought it was funny, so I had to throw it in.
I love it. It looks very AI just because of the cross eyes that's happening
I
with
thought about that
Santa.
too. Yeah, I wonder if the eyes are kind of off. Anyway,
Yeah.
Santa stole our
They're
dog.
all looking in different directions. What are they looking at?
The
Uh,
magic of the wonder of the one's dad's looking at the mistletoe, the girl's looking at the presents, the boy's looking at the star on the top of the tree, and the mom's looking up at Jesus up in heaven. There you go.
There's a big gigantic FC in the corner for no reason.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, I kind of thought, I think at a quick glance, I thought that was IFC, and I thought that it was an IFC movie. Anyway, you know what? Let's move on from the Santa stole our dog poster, and we'll
Well, it doesn't
good.
feel like a real dog movie. Like dog movies have like a formula. They don't normally involve the dog being kidnapped. I've never seen anything quite like that.
Homeward Bound is a little. I mean, the animals go missing and have to get back home. I could see it maybe kind of working like that. Maybe. Well, let's save it for the end. Let's come up with plot ideas for Santa Stole Our Dog for the end. We'll save that for the pitch fest. I'm curious. How could the plot work? How does Santa end up stealing the dog? Let's go just for a minute into the history of Christmas entertainment, which I've made a very reductive little timeline of here with a couple other little highlights just on this infographic I've gotten online somewhere. Let's start with the basics, just sort of pagan solstice folklore era, which is essentially, I don't know, the year 0 to 1500 or so, in which there are many different folk beliefs that are connected to the solstice and the Yuletide and things like this. All of that's where we get things like the imagery of the tree, the pine, the pine needle tree, and a lot of the sort of classic Christmas imagery is linked to these pagan and Christmas traditions that didn't really get consolidated into consistent folk beliefs with recurring characters until about the 15 to 1700s. Washington Irving was the early 1800s writer who sort of canonized and solidified around this character of Saint Nick, which became Santa again in these early 1830s and 40s. I think early 1820s is when we started to get those first images of Santa here. Yeah, here on the timeline here. 1823, the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas popularizes Santa Claus. Santa's appearance is finally fully formalized in the 1860s, but that's all after our key linchpin of 1843, Christmas Carol, being the template for future Christmas stories, centering the dramatic action and arguments around this Victorian moral based idea of the holidays and what they should mean, what they how we should live our lives not only on Christmas, but how we can sort of take that idea of Christmas and live with that all throughout the year, right? Christmas is not something you just do on the one day, but it's sort of a part of who you are. It's kind of like themes around kung fu in a way, where stories are about a character that wants to learn kung fu and then realizes kung fu is not just kicking people. It's something that you carry in within you all the time and that you're always applying in everything from how you make tea to how you, okay, kick people. There we go. Santa Kung Fu. That's another underexplored genre. Luke, get on it. We have the commercialization era, which would be post-Christmas Carol, where now we have these really formalized icons, and combined with the Industrial Revolution that has allowed us to mass produce imagery of these characters, which can be used to sell stuff. So now we are seeing Santa become an icon for brands like Coca-Cola, which was, I believe, in the late 1920s and 30s, where that became sort of one of their main pushes of marketing. Santa can be used to sell anything, it turns out. And so that led to this really huge push for that commercialization, like mass producing and selling stuff kind of era of the late 1800s to early 1900s. I think all that sort of culminates and like transitions into the postmodern period, in which now we are in the post-war era. We are now looking back at those old traditions and asking, what do they mean now? Are we going to keep up with them like this? What have they come to mean? And is that good or bad? That question of, is Christmas a celebration of wealth? Or is Christmas, again, that sort of like feeling that we have inside us that we can carry all the time, that sort of more religious idea of Christmas? Or is it for kids? Is it something fun? Is it something somber and serious? We were trying to like figure out Christmas's identity, I believe, during that time. And the reaction to the earlier commercialized era gave us the big hits that are still really popular today, such as The Grinch and Charlie Brown, which would be like those sort of mid 60s reaction to commercial sort of Christmas story movies, or reaction to, monetization of Christmas type of movies. Remakes and rehashes were like, I would say 2000s up until now, where we saw reboots of everything and sequels and legacy sequels to everything from, and again, additional remakes of everything from The Grinch to A Christmas Story. Lots of nostalgia bait and familiarity, with occasional subversions and weird genre stuff, which would be moving through the like Bad Santas and things like this into the era right now of kind of odd genre takes on Christmas with movies like Violent Night, Dear Satan, etc. Okay, that I think is the sort of simplified Christmas entertainment timeline. Do you guys think I missed anything, or was there anything you'd want to emphasize or bring out in this?
I think that Charlie Brown is one of the most important because up until that point, you had Rudolph came out the year before, and then Charlie Brown really kind of destroyed the aluminum Christmas tree market. So it literally changed how Americans view Christmas in terms of like what we decorate with, but also it kind of popularized Luke 2 more. And it also introduced jazz to a new audience. So a Charlie Brown Christmas album is one of the best-selling albums of all time. It is in the National Registry of Recording, both the special and the record for its historical significance in for Christmas and jazz and just the popular culture. It really did make Peanuts what it is.
Thank you for that. And still is a popular classic to this day. I think it streams on Apple TV now.
Mhm.
Let's
Well,
look at some of
maybe.
these. Yeah, I saw a logo. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, look, Apple TV
Nice.
Plus. There's a logo right there.
Mhm.
Let's look at some archetypes of Christmas type sub genres or whatever we call these. I think we'll have to start by looking at the Dickensian, touching on the Santa and magic kind of version of the genre. The anti-consumerist angle, which I mentioned, were crystallized and solidified in Charlie Brown and The Grinch. Seasonal horror, anti-Christmas subversions, and I'm not going to comment. I don't have slides on these just because I don't know as much about them. But if you guys have stuff to say about them, I'd love to hear it. Cozy romance and religious, which are two other just very specific takes on the Christmas movie.
Let's go.
Okay, I'll start with a few of these. And then we'll open the floor for other subgenres that I'm not as familiar with at the end. I have seen some of these. I just wasn't quite knowledgeable enough to make a whole slide on them. Let's start with the Dickensian. So this is the pre-Santa kind of Christmas genre, though in modern takes on this, sometimes it does incorporate elements of Santa lore and ideas, right? But as we mentioned, that the Santa Claus character was not quite popularized even his appearance was not fully formalized until the 1860s, right? So this was 20 years before that. This is sort of a consolidation of those early themes of Christmas We are looking at again, Victorian ideas of what this should mean. And I think a lot of this does come down to it's like an early version of that kind of anti-consumerist sort of approach. Although this was before Christmas was fully made into that material pursuit. So it is kind of like looking at the idea, like those attitudes that led to that commercialization of Christmas, maybe, which would be greed. These miserly, cruel figures, cold and cruel figures that have lost touch with what's important in their lives. They're redemptive stories that almost always center a really unpleasant or flawed person as the protagonist. Really unlikable protagonists in these very cozy stories, which is you might think is sort of unusual now. And religious themes are allowed and woven into the text, but are not always going to manifest on the surface. With modern takes on this, sometimes even removing a bit of that Christianized aspect of these stories to some extent, and some leaning more into it. Like with Scrooge, the Bill Murray comedy from the late 80s. This is my family's favorite one, so I've seen this the most probably. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think, Dakota, you're much more familiar with other adaptations of Christmas Carol than me. But in most of them, the sort of Dark Night of the Soul sequence is the Ghost of Christmas Future takes Scrooge to see his like lonely grave, right? And it is like no one came to your funeral, no one visits your grave, right? You just live this empty, you have this empty, sad death, and that's kind of viewed as like the worst thing that could happen. That's like you're being forgotten, your legacy means nothing, you have no family to be sad for you, that sort of thing. Is that how that normally goes?
Yeah, typically. Yeah.
Okay. But in Scrooge, the Ghost of Christmas Future takes him through, his funeral and stuff like this, but then sort of like locks him in a box during his own cremation. So the implication is not only have you been a terrible guy your whole life, you now have to sort of get a preview of what hell will be like. You're going to hell. So that actually leans a little bit more into the Judeo-Christian aspect there, where it says not only, and I've also seen some other horror takes, like the FX take with Guy Pearce, from like 2017 or 18, 2019, yeah. I like that one, and it also leaned very much into the like Scrooge is damned for all eternity angle, as opposed to a lot of them which sort of more have this like you're separate from people that love you. No one loves you or cares about you. That's bad enough kind of angle. So they do sort of have that spectrum of leaning a little bit more into the fire and brimstone damnation Scrooge, you have like sinned against God kind of approach versus you've ruined your own life and no one loves you and that's bad enough. Any thoughts on that?
I love the Guy Pearce version a lot. I think that it is probably the most faithful-ish to the material in terms of what is the morality of everything, things like that. And also just everything is lovely in that version. I think too that one of the most important things about particularly Christmas Carol and the Dickens idea of Christmas is this idea uh, of forgiveness and also the kind of thing that in Scrooge his change is it's all about Tiny Tim. Like without Tiny Tim, he doesn't change. So Tiny Tim is the most important character in the whole thing. Um and and that kind of represents like that innocence, but also the I kind of look at Tiny Tim as Christmas spirit incarnate, essentially, right? Like God bless us everyone, right? So I think a lot of the ideas of what we have for Christmas now um, kind of can come from these kind of sensibilities. But I'm rambling. I've seen every version of Christmas Carol, so I can expound forever.
Thanks for that. Oh wow, a bunch of people just showed up. Whoa, hi everybody.
Yeah.
Other adventure stats. It feels like we're getting raided.
Nacho put out a ping.
Oh, okay, great. Welcome, guys. We are talking Christmas genre and different Christmas subgenres. We just kind of covered the Dickensian. Now we're moving into Santa slash magic. This is what a lot of people think of when they hear Christmas movie. Although they don't necessarily have to involve Santa at all. And in fact, we've even spoken of how Christmas Carol emerged in this sort of pre-formalized Santa sort of world. These are really wish fulfillment stories that are often kids movies, or they are targeted, marketed and targeted towards kids, and usually feature kids or kid-like figures as the main character. Like Will Ferrell's character in Elf is not exactly a kid, but he is a kid type of character, right? Children in these are portrayed as sort of inherently understanding the magic of Christmas, or at least being open to it. And it is more about them trying to hold on to that magic or convince the adults in their lives to reconnect with that. Whereas the Dickensian is more about those tragic central figures that need to have a redemption where they themselves, like the protagonist, needs to rediscover what Christmas means. It is thought that kids kind of have this connection to Christmas in this subgenre. They inherently get it and they understand the magic of it. So these are a little bit more like coming of age stories where the kid needs to prove themselves somehow and go through some rite of passage or a quest. Usually it involves saving Christmas somehow. Like the classic Rudolph story is literally saving Christmas because it's foggy one day and Santa never thought of that before. And that's never happened before, I guess. So now we need to get Rudolph in order to help, guide the sleigh. So a lot of these will have that same vibe of the kid needs to step up and help Christmas happen or like fix Christmas or save it or get it back on track. And along the way, they will maintain and, in fact, try to preserve their love of the magic and innocence of childhood, whereas the adults sort of need to learn their lesson from that. Think of the ending of Elf, right? Where the mean, miserly dad is sort of the one that needs to learn how to believe and how to connect with childhood from his experience with Buddy. And at the end, he needs to sort of be that key turning point, the one who starts singing the Christmas song along with everybody to be that last little bit of magic that gets them over the hill and, gets them out of the situation. So, not really about kids changing as much, except in terms of kids gaining responsibilities and proving their place, but they fundamentally can't really lose these are non-cynical stories. These are about gaining or maintaining that appreciation for that innocence and childhood magic. So, familiar tropes are really a must for this very specific genre. In fact, you're dealing with younger audiences that may they need to kind of be grounded in the story with those familiar tropes for them to know who characters are and what's going on. So you can change some things out. You could have a Santa of a different race. Should he be skinny and not give out presents? Probably not. You don't want to subvert too many tropes, or else they'll start not to feel like a Christmas story anymore, right? So definitely play with the tropes and use them a lot. Sometimes, like some even like postmodern approaches to this, like again, Elf. They take earlier Christmas movies like the Rankin Bass kind of animated style and they portray that as like a separate world almost. So that's sort of like saying the world of classic Christmas entertainment is sort of out there somewhere, and we've drifted away from it into a more grounded and realistic world that's sort of forgotten about those things or is supposed to move on from those things into adulthood. Any questions or comments on the Santa slash magic subgenre?
I think there's a movie called Arthur Christmas that's a good example of this, grounding the familiar tropes, but sort of expanding on them. So Santa, his sleigh is like a giant spaceship almost kind of thing, and there's a whole like army of elves, and uh, the North Pole is, I don't know. There's yeah, you can see the interior of the ship there in that screenshot.
This here?
That's the exterior.
Oh,
That one's
wow.
the interior.
It's like the spaceships from Wall-E, kind of, except they're staffed all by elves.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but it's familiar enough.
Yeah, this is sort of like the Fred Claus kind of thing, where it's like Santa has this relative or friend or something like that that is connected to the traditions in some way, but hasn't really taken their place in them yet. Hasn't really like proven their place in them.
Exactly.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Hadn't heard of that one. The reaction to commercialization kind of stories, these are often, again, family and in the comedy kind of space. But then again, there are certain, this is sort of like a thematic approach to the genre that does have resonance even in romance and drama and things like that. But these are largely stories about families or members of the family that are struggling with some kind of misbelief about Christmas themes. That could be something like Jingle All the Way. Does anyone remember the conflict of that movie?
Isn't it uh he has to get it's like the last toy or whatever. It's like I have to get this one thing for my kid because if I
Yeah,
don't,
the
it's
Turbo Man doll.
yeah, the Turbo Man. Yeah.
It's kind of like in the vein of like the Tickle Me Elmo craze where they were all sold out. So there's this toy that all the kids want, but it's sold out, and he has to get one on Christmas Eve somehow.
Yep, exactly. And so the character's misbelief in this case is that I have to get this exact thing to make my kid happy because that's what he asked for. And if I don't do that, then I'm a bad dad. Not really true, right? And these stories are almost always about the character learning that they had some mischaracterized idea about what Christmas means, or how they should live their life all the time. And by the end, they will have either failed at their goal or succeeded in it in such a way that they will learn that it was wrong, and they will kind of change their goal or change their motivation. The Grinch is kind of a combination of this subgenre and the earlier Dickensian, wherein we have a miserly, miserable, unlikable main character that then sort of has to learn this theme as opposed to learning the Scrooge theme about like reconnecting with family in your life. Because the Grinch doesn't have any family. The Grinch is all about that idea of uh, if is taking these gifts away going to take Christmas away? And it turns out, no, it's not about that at all. So the theme for these is always the same. It's Christmas is not about how much you spend or how much you receive. You don't have to be rich to have a good Christmas. You don't have to be rich to be happy. It's about warmth and connection. By the end of these, they usually do reaffirm the themes and ideas of Christmas, even if they have subverted them to some extent through the course of the story. Or they've questioned like the almost like the perversions of the Christmas theme. It's more about sort of examining how far Christmas has drifted from its original intentions and ideas, and sort of getting it back to those. Let's look at Christmas horror. These posters I just did not fit well together on the screen, so you can't really even see any of them. But I just want to highlight. Oh, one is written by my very good friend Zach Gross. Sorry, not Zach Gross. Zach Kahn. Better Watch Out. Just hit Netflix a couple days ago and is doing very well there. So check it out if you haven't. Rare Exports, the Norwegian or Swedish, I think Norwegian actually, Christmas horror type of evil Santa sort of movie from like 2010. And then Dakota mentioned Gremlins before this class, so I just had to include it. I don't know how I forgot about that one. That is such a good Christmas horror. Look, there's even a scene where they all sing Christmas carols. And they dress up as Santa several times and do all sorts of Christmassy stuff. So, sorry, my text just got cut off as I was trying to show the posters clear. Also, let me just swap my screen that I'm streaming on Discord. I think I somehow did not share the windowed projector. There it is. Okay, all right. All right, so Christmas horror. Horror is actually really woven with Christmas, more than you might assume. There are lots of cultural traditions around the world that connect scary stories with Christmas. In some countries, telling scary stories around the Christmas Yuletide or campfire, things like this, is much more the norm than telling cozy family stories, right? So, and especially even looking at Christmas Carol, which we always sort of have to come back to. There's a lot of horror in that story. Because it's sort of about this inherently frightening idea of realizing you've lived your life the wrong way and everyone hates you, and now you have to change, or you're damned to hell. You're doomed in some kind of way. Either you'll die alone and forgotten, or you're going to be burning for all eternity, right? So there are sort of like Judeo-Christian hellfire themes sort of built into Christmas to some extent, just because it is a Judeo-Christian holiday, and it's about generosity and kindness and acting the right way, which does come with this inversion of, well, you shouldn't act the wrong way, though, right? So it comes with all kinds of sort of cautionary tales about these Grinch or Scrooge type characters that are punished somehow. That's not the only type of Christmas horror. And if you even think of like other worldwide folklore traditions like Krampus or Ruprecht, these scary Santa traditions, they cross many different cultures, and they often center on folkloric figures that punish children for being bad, because we have this idea in the sort of like Americanized nice version of Santa is, well, he rewards you for being good, and the worst he'll do is give you a lump of coal if you are naughty. But like the Germanic tradition has Ruprecht, who is this sort of villainous character that will either hit children with a stick or kidnap them if they have, or sometimes eat or hurt them somehow, although that's more of like a Krampus sort of thing. We see more Krampus and more Austrian folklore and things like this, but the Krampus being a monster that in some versions either works for or with Santa and is like his attack dog, or in some versions is like the anti-Santa. That is like the Santa exists to sort of fight and keep him at bay, and if you don't have Santa on your side, he'll get you. Something along those lines. Has anyone heard a similar sort of scary Christmas or Santa sort of folklore idea like that?
In the Netherlands, Santa is actually Sinterklaas, who is the former Bishop of Turkey. And he comes on a white horse with the Zwarte Piet, who are Moors. And if you are good, they will give you presents. If you are bad, they will put coal in your boots. And if you are really bad, they will beat you with sticks, stuff you in a sack, and take you to Spain.
There you go. A fate worse than death. And yeah, we can't even get into Svart's
It's
Beef, probably.
very, very bad. And I have never gotten beaten and taken to Spain, sadly.
Man, you got to be worse. Keep getting worse. See if something happens. Luke even mentions in the chat the idea of an omniscient toy maker crawling into locked houses to punish or reward children is nightmare fuel. I don't know why there aren't more horror where Santa is the villain. Great point. Anyone else seen some interesting worldwide tradition like this they want to share?
In Iceland, there is the Yuletide cat who basically eats you if you don't wear like new Christmas stuff, pretty much.
Oh, okay. I get it. So it's like you tell the children about it so that they put the new sweaters on so they don't just leave it in the closet kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah. Very, very much a Krampus-y kind of figure. Yeah.
Right. I'll also just share the if anyone hasn't seen this amazing Krampus parade in Perchten. Oh, sorry, the Perchten parade in Itto, Austria. It's really cool. Every year they dress up in these amazing, elaborate costumes with like crazy pyrotechnics, and it looks like a March of the Goblins or something. So cool. All right. Some horror stories also will just use the setting of Christmas to kind of like contrast and amplify the scares or make it feel more subversive and scary because like it's a time where everyone's supposed to be cozy and happy and nice to each other, but it is in fact a time where a serial killer is murdering people like in Black Christmas, which is many people cite as one of those first in the slasher archetype. Though there's several different remakes and reboots of that one. The original is often considered one of the first official slasher movies. Terrifier 3, it's a Christmas movie. There's like some horror type of stories do use Christmas as a backdrop, and they may or may not really connect with any actual themes of Christmas, but they're ultimately using sort of like the visual language of Christmas to subvert it for more horror. Modern subversion and weird genre stuff. So these are everything from Violent Nights, Bad Santa sort of stories that are inherently either portraying the opposite of traditional Christmas themes. Like Bad Santa is about a criminal that is working as a mall Santa that is going to rob the mall on Christmas. That's like a big heist he's going to pull off with his friend who portrays one of the elves. And I think the manager of the store is in on it too, if I remember correctly. And that one is about it does end up being kind of almost that Scrooge type of figure. He ends up by the end almost having that kind of arc of it has that like sort of Tiny Tim type of character of the pathetic weird kid that by the end, even though it doesn't really follow the traditional beats of a Dickensian story, Willie ends up being a little bit better of a person and ends up, despite himself, kind of caring about this kid. And so he maybe takes like a few steps in that direction of that change that this genre usually is all about the character making that A to Z transformation. He really only kind of goes from A to B or A to C, but it's still something. So ultimately, that does very much still fit within that Christmas idea. The other stories that are in this world, they may just sort of, again, use it as a backdrop or may use the Christmas ideas for set pieces. This could be like action or thrillers like we've seen Violent Night, Fat Man from 2020 with Mel Gibson, which is, again, sort of like an action version of this, in which we're kind of using it for comedic effect. Often these are action comedies that are deeply unserious And they are, Violent Night has Saint Nick, stabbing people with candy canes and stuff like that. And so it's kind of using the Christmas imagery for the laughs and using it to lighten the seriousness of what would otherwise be a sort of violent or scary crime type of situation. Anyone else want to shout out one of these?
I mentioned it before we started, but Trapped in Paradise. Fantastically underrated Nick Cage movie from 1994. Love this movie. It's great. It fits in this genre, in this subversion. It's very, very fun.
Thank you for that. Yep, that's the first I heard of that one. In the movie Reindeer Games with Ben Affleck, the main character's name is also Rudy, like Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. But it's just a coincidence. It's like the story takes place. It's not a good movie, but that is kind of in this crime that takes place on and around Christmas and connects to those themes in some sorts of ways, type of story. So yeah, don't recommend it, but there is some fun to be had in this subversive area.
There's Silent Night, Deadly Night, I think is what it's called. It's like a crime slasher.
Oh yeah,
So
is
it's more
that's
kind of
full
horror, but it's also, yeah.
There's a couple. In fact, there's a reboot just came out, I think. Did it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, December
I don't
12th.
even
It
know
came
if I'm
out.
thinking of the right franchise.
You are. No,
Is this
8 days
the
ago.
Garbage Day one?
I think so. I think, yeah, that's from the second one. There's been some memes that have been made of this. But yeah, look how many movies there are in the series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Crazy.
I mentioned it in chat, but I feel like A Crazy Nights would fit in this category, even though it uses Christmas and Hanukkah as backdrop. I feel like it falls within like the same tier as like Bad Santa in terms of the type of genre it's going for.
Okay, good to know. I haven't seen that one. I kind of thought that was more focused on Hanukkah, but you're saying it has Christmas elements too?
Well, I mean, it's around the same time of year,
Mhm.
and obviously, whenever Christmas is usually always going to overshadow Hanukkah, so it's always going to have. I just feel like it would count because technically, I think it would go. Even though it is a Hanukkah movie, I think it technically falls under that category.
Yeah, holiday movie for sure.
Holiday movie, yeah.
Mhm. And yeah, they are very close together. I mean, Hanukkah ends on Sunday tomorrow. Let's look at Christmas adjacent. And then I will open the floor. I mentioned at the beginning, maybe a few folks who just joined weren't here for this part, but I don't know too much about cozy romance or religious focused Christmas movies, so I wanted to leave some space if anybody else wanted to sort of explain how those work, share what they like about them, maybe tropes that make them tick, and any other just things you can share on those. Let's start with Christmas adjacent, though. So this is kind of like movies that people argue about, and they can't quite decide if they're Christmas movies or not. And even Home Alone, for instance, which I think 60% of people do think is a Christmas movie, is not always marketed that way. And even I included this poster here because I guess that is a Christmas lights or maybe a tree in the background of the character. It's not really emphasized. And certain other posters and trailers for the movie would emphasize that more than others, like the version that has the wet bandits tied up with bows and Christmas lights behind Kevin and stuff like that, right? So sometimes they lean more into that imagery, but it is a little bit on the fence. The thing to me that makes Home Alone definitively more of a Christmas movie are two things. One, the subplot with Old Man Marley, by the way, Marley, the clear reference to Jacob Marley from Christmas Carol, but that sort of subplot is very much in the Christmas world of the old miser who's everyone is a little bit nervous around and afraid of because he's lost his connection to Christmas and his family that he sort of needs to rediscover through his uh, adventure with this kid in this case. So the adult kind of learns from the kid how to reconnect with that childhood magic sort of thing. And then the other thing, and that this is actually sort of an underrated, I don't know, under remarked upon aspect of the movie, is that the whole situation is sort of implied to be the result of Kevin's Christmas wish, because like the night so stick with me. On the night before his parents go on the trip, he's like, I wish my family would just disappear. And then the movie sort of shows like the wind brushing the trees outside and like the bells are starting to jingle, like Santa or God or the spirit of Christmas is kind of doing something. And then the wind ends up knocking a branch which falls in the power line, which then knocks the power out. And as a result of that, the parents' alarm doesn't go off, and that's why they're late for the plane trip, and that's why they rush, and that's why they miss Kevin, and that's why the whole movie happens. So it actually sort of, there is a direct cause and effect, implied at least, between him making that Christmas wish and the whole events of the movie, sort of framing the whole thing as like a Santa test or something. It's like the whole thing is almost like we're gonna give you what you wish and then make you realize why that's not actually the thing that you should really want. And then by the end, he rediscovers, oh, I do need my and want my family, and I'm happy that they're back, sort of thing, right? So it's like the whole thing is almost, it's like Santa doesn't appear, but it does have that vibe of like the hand of Santa is evident in the chain of cause and effect in the story, and it is a direct result of that or that is the exact cause for Kevin being left home alone in the first place. So there is some intriguing cause and effect happening in Home Alone that's I feel a kind of missed out on. But anyway, I think we have to call it a Christmas movie because of that, even though the marketing doesn't always agree. Okay, I will take no questions on that at this time. Let's go into Die Hard and Shane Black stuff. These are in that kind of adjacent space, and some people will argue one way and some will argue the other. And there's all these kinds of revisionist approaches where people are like, everyone says it's a Christmas movie, but it's really not. They're stupid. And some people are saying, everyone who says that it's stupid is stupid. It really obviously is. So there's the jury is out on this. There's no clear answer to this question of are these in fact in the Christmas genre or not. But here's my thoughts. First of all, is my stream gone? Did it go away?
Yes.
Why does it
Yeah.
pause? How do I bring it back?
Mhm.
Let me change it, then change it back.
There we go.
Oh, it came back. One sec. It happened right before I swapped it. Let me go back to the projector. That should work. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so these stories often do take place on or around Christmas, and sometimes they do touch on key Christmas themes. Shane Black's thinking on it is something like this, whereas and considering almost all of his movies are set on Christmas. Sort of weird, right? For everything from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang to Lethal Weapon, Long Kiss Goodnight, even Iron Man 3, like they're all set on and around Christmas. The reason he's explained for that is not really for spiritual or moral reasons, but it's kind of because he's phrased it like Christmas is a time of year where people become more circumspect and about their lives and about how much they've accomplished and what their relationships are like and how far they've come and who matters to them. And so he chooses to very often set movies in and around that time because it makes for a good reason for the characters to be reflective about those things and for the characters to sort of decide who I want to be now. Like it's because Christmas is just a time of year where people decide, am I on the right course or not, and how they should correct from that. I think that is the extent to why most Shane Black movies take place on Christmas. Are they Christmas movies? Some say yes, some say no. I would say mostly no. With the occasional moments of overlap where it's like, oh wow, they really did learn a lesson about reconnecting with innocence or with the magic of childhood or something here and there. But it's really just not the focus of those movies largely. For Shane Black, it is sort of more of a backdrop and like something to bounce off of for drama and for character work. It's not really about the more spiritual ideas or more like moral ideas of Christmas as much. But people will fight about this all day long, so your mileage may vary. All right, so let's leave a little room. Does anyone want to speak to either cozy romance or, and holiday romance, I mean, or the religious focused Christmas movies, which would usually connect much more to the nativity or Jesus storyline or things like that? Anybody want to speak to those?
Yep.
Call out any examples? Go ahead.
I could do
I have cozy.
religious.
I have a lot of things about cozy, so
Okay,
we
we'll
can
start
start
with you,
there.
but-
if we want.
Yeah, we'll start there, then we'll
Okay.
hear about the religious from someone else. Go ahead.
Okay, so cozy Christmas romance, otherwise known as CCR, are basically every single one of those are about two people who overcome an obstacle and fall in love at Christmas time, realizing that they are better together than apart. That is every single Christmas movie. That is every single Christmas, cozy Christmas romance. Two people coming together. There are, I'm more familiar with the quote Hallmark version of this, but all of the tropey kinds of things are relevant to, more commercial, like more, non-TV as well. There is basically there is small town woman has to go back home. And usually meets a guy. And is usually a businesswoman, usually in marketing. Usually has a high paying position, right? It's woman goes back home. It is another very common trope is two women switch places, so Prince and the Pauper, right? Where you have two people, they're like, oh well, you have it better, no, I have it better, whatever. So there's Prince and the Pauper stuff. There's Magic Christmas. So Magic Christmas and what we were talking about earlier, this is where overlap happens. So typically in romance, whenever there's magic, Santa, magic wishes. It's usually very benign magic. There's not like spells or anything that's going on. It's usually very mundane, very easy, simple. You know, I can't really confess my love until, it's true love's first kiss kind of thing. Like it's very easy magic. Very benign stuff. There's also the fake out or the rent a boyfriend, which is the relationship, like I'm gonna pretend to be in a relationship with you, best friend, because parents want me to be in a relationship, and then we end up, together. So basically the fake boyfriend. There's that trope. There's Christmas royalty, which is, falling in love with a prince. Then there's Snowstorm. I love this one, actually. A lot of cozy romances use weather to kind of confine people. So basically, and the reason is because it forces them to be together more, and it forces them to, whatever differences they have to overcome them because they have to get out of the storm. There's usually that. And these also tend to follow the romance cues as well. So that you're gonna have the meet cute, you're gonna have the misunderstanding, you're gonna have all of those, just a Christmas spin on them. A lot of Christmas romances, especially now, use the meet ugly instead of the meet cute. I know Mario has some quarrel with this, but meet ugly is a type of meet cute where the characters meet in an unflattering way. For example, a woman hits a guy with a Christmas tree, and that ends up sending him to the hospital as opposed to a meet cute.
Sure.
And then there's the cynic, which is basically a Grinchy character, or I'm 100% about business, Scrooge. Like we're kind of tapping into Scrooge, Grinchian kind of things. But the thing about this is that the cynic, it has to be like you still have to like them. These kinds of people are miserly to the extent of, yeah, I don't like Christmas, but I don't like Christmas treats. I don't like, like no, very mild ways. Like this is not like nobody wants to be so anti-Christmas with this. That's basically most of the tropes for cozy Christmas. All of these, this is not, this is just from a book that I that I got notes from. But yeah, but basically it's all about, people coming in love, having an obstacle, and realizing they're better together. That is every single one. So that's it, really, when it comes to Christmas romance. So
Thank you for that. And this is an extremely popular genre on TV. Made for TV movies and made for
yes.
streaming type of movies will come up with. I think there's dozens of these per year. So there is a market for this. My grandma watches all of them.
Hallmark did about 45 of them in like 2019 or something. Like there was a lot of feats in
There
like
you
1
go.
year.
That's just one
A
company
lot.
too. So yeah, you can probably
Yeah.
expect 50 or 100 of these a year, maybe. And on verticals, probably even more.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for that. I am not too knowledgeable about this, and that's why I like to open the floor to it sometimes. But I will say the one really, really important key trope that I do know for this genre also is happy ending. It's all about the happy ending. And that means, although your characters might have that division, they may even break up at one point, they always sort of come back together and we always end up in a fulfilling, lasting relationship. All right, let's talk religious Christmas type of stories. Does somebody want to give us some background there?
Yeah, certainly. I feel like from my experience when it comes to religious Christmas movies, there's two types of Christmas movies. Most follow they'll either follow a drama like port text to film portrayal of the scripture, or it's an adaptation, usually from another character or set of characters' point of view. So, like 2006, The Nativity Story. That one is a more serious drama retelling of the Nativity Story. That one has Oscar Isaac. I think it's one of his first films, like major films he was a part of. And that one will pretty much be very, told very straightforward, very nonfiction, uh, retelling of the journey, the story, the journey of Mary and Joseph and their voyage to Bethlehem. Um, and then the other side of it, you kind of have from a different perspective, usually told in a usually it's an adaptation that would fall under fiction, like, or loosely based off of something. uh there was Sony Pictures had The Star, I think, which was mainly focused around a lot of the animals from the that surrounded the manger. There's The Little Drummer Boy from Rankin Bass. They may not be the most they may be kind of they're adaptations in a way that I'm trying to think of the word embellished, but they still focus on the same. The story itself is kind of pretty much the same ending, same beginning. Um, it doesn't change a whole lot because there's not really much you can change, with the a story from scripture. But those are examples that come to mind. I highly recommend the Nativity Story. I think that one was done really well.
Thank you for that.
It's really short and sweet, but
Thanks a lot. And maybe we can also consider like movies like It's a Wonderful Life that they aren't a retelling of anything, but they feature God or other religious like Judeo-Christian figures in a really straightforward and serious way. Like they are characters in the story.
yeah, great point too. I thought about this when I was waiting, and I slipped my mind for a second. But going back to Home Alone, I think Home Alone has a lot of Catholic undertones in it, which
True.
especially with like Marley's character, how the church was a safe space, where Marv and Harry just that was the last place they wanted to go to when following him. It's religion is gonna play a ton with Christmas films because it's just like the reason for the season, for lack of better words. But it's definitely I feel, yeah, it's gonna be there's gonna be a presence in it in every type of genre, which makes it really cool. When there hasn't been but when it comes to like straightforward retellings of it, it's usually done in a way that pretty much is the same story. It's just either told in a very accurate portrayal or in a very embellished way.
Thank you for all that great info.
With regard to the Rankin and Bass, or I'm probably saying that wrong. The sort of claymation ones, Nestor the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey is a really good example of one that, sort of is a way of explaining it to children. The story and the importance of the stories as viewed through the eyes of, Nestor the donkey who he rode, So
Right.
I don't know, I always thought that one was a fun one when I was a kid. I really loved Nestor.
Allegory. Yep, great tool to use there. Luke, would you like to speak to this topic, and then
Oh, yes.
you had a couple other thoughts, so feel free to share whatever you'd like to say. Go ahead.
Oh my God. So first of all, I would not consider It's a Wonderful Life a religious Christian movie in that sense. It's sort of like religious adjacent. If
Okay.
it's not explicitly about Jesus with a capital J, then I don't consider it in that genre. Uh, I have two sort of main types, and I could sum it up with just that phrase. Jesus is the reason for the season. That is what these movies are about. You have your nativity movies, which we've discussed at length. But there's this other genre where it's a modern movie, and you almost always have sort of like a Scrooge type character, or somebody who's like disillusioned with Christmas because it's all about consumerism or whatever, and then they're proven wrong. Like, no, it's actually about Jesus. And that can take a lot of different forms. And that can be expressed like, I don't know if you've heard of the Christmas shoes. I'm pretty sure they made that into a movie. There's Christmas with a capital C, which takes sort of this um, Hallmark movie romance formula and then throws in a plot about I don't know, people trust kind of thing. And we have to come together and learn that, oh, it's not just about trees and music, it's about Jesus. Saving Christmas, Kirk Cameron. You have a character who's cynically named Christian who is upset with Christmas, and Kirk Cameron has to show him, like, no, it's really about Jesus. So that is a very, very big part of this like religious movie genre. It's just take a modern story, a modern movie, anything, and make it about Jesus. Have your Scrooge character become enlightened by the end, and now it's the Grinch. Now they're extra Christmassy by the end. I forget what I was talking about earlier. Oh, the thing I wanted to share earlier was just movies for the um, Christmas adjacent. Um, Trancers. I don't. Nobody has seen this movie except me and Dakota, I think. It was Helen Hunt's first movie. It's about a cyberpunk detective who goes back in time to 1980s LA to hunt a psychic killer who controls people called Trancers. And it takes place during Christmas, so it's Christmas adjacent, and it features like a kung fu fight with a mall Santa and at the midpoint. So you got to see Trancers.
My
It's
goodness.
unforgettable. Yeah, his name is Jack Death. Yeah, it's
What
so
a
good.
what a fever dream.
Yeah. Edward Scissorhands. I mean, there's a bunch of Tim Burton movies that are Christmas adjacent or out and out Christmas movies. But you have Batman Returns takes place around Christmas. But Edward Scissorhands has a Christmas framing device that's really clever. The story of the movie is being told on Christmas Eve. I think that's a great one. I don't know
I've
if
heard about
anyone
that,
has
yeah.
you should really watch Edward Scissorhands if you haven't seen it. And then Hudsucker Proxy is Christmas adjacent. It's very wintry and it has Christmas, and it's about a toy going to market, part of it, like the later half. So
Right.
very Christmas adjacent
And a bit of magic too.
and a bit of magic.
Christmas
but
always has
not
that little bit of magic.
not
Go ahead.
religious.
Right, not
Not
religiously
religious.
themed. And yeah, that's an interesting point about the differentiation of It's a Wonderful Life, because I guess maybe just because I don't watch a lot of religious or stuff with religious elements in it, to me this seemed like a very Christian story. But the dramatic argument isn't about embracing Jesus or anything like that, and I think that might be the one of those main like distinctifiers of the capital C Christian genre is that the dramatic argument will always kind of revolve around uh either embracing Jesus himself or like the ideals of Jesus in some way. Whereas in It's a Wonderful Life, we do have angels and God as main characters, but it's kind of more about the guy coming to appreciate what he has in life, sort of like in Home Alone.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes have angels and heaven and hell and stuff like this, but they're
That's true.
definitely not religious or Christian. It's just
Yeah, that's a good point. But I guess that was at a time when those were maybe more normalized, and like you don't really see that in modern
yeah,
kids cartoons.
it's just part of the culture.
Right.
If it doesn't explicitly endorse Christianity, I wouldn't count it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, are there any other Christmas subgenres that you guys want to shout out? We've covered a lot.
I don't know if this is would be considered Christmas, but I know that the opening scene for the original Ben-Hur with Charleston Heston, it opened up with the birth of Christ, the wise men going to see baby Jesus. But they took that out, I believe, in the remake of Ben-Hur.
Okay, interesting. That it definitely connects to Christmas in a way. I guess it was before. I mean that the like Christmas in theory is the celebration of that event, but I guess the term Christmas wasn't really being used yet, so maybe we wouldn't quite put it exactly in that holiday genre. But you're right that it certainly connects to the central sort of like core events of the Christmas tradition. Dakota mentions the Christmas musical. Yeah, and we've seen lots of adaptations of other Christmas stories in musical format, like a million different musicals of Scrooge, of course, including Muppet Christmas Carol.
The Star Wars holiday special.
Actually, the holiday special kind of is a separate subgenre in a weird way, isn't it? Like the
Yeah.
sub genre.
It is.
And I mentioned the Doctor Who specials in chat. They're all they cover each genre we've talked about, including horror.
And even like
Have they
even
done
this,
a musical one?
go ahead.
I'm sure they've done a musical one.
You did a musical one. I don't remember that.
I also remember that sitcoms there's sort of a tradition that sitcoms will have holiday themed episodes too. So like all the major sitcoms, there will be every year. So there will be around Christmas the Christmas themed episode, which will take elements of the genre.
Well, that was sort of why the Chevy Chase vacation movies absolutely had to have a Christmas vacation.
Right. The community Christmas episodes were always so good, including the Rankin Bass one.
Community was well put.
The Office one with the white elephant is really good.
Yeah, that's a classic where uh, Pam brings the oven mitt and Ryan brings the video iPod. Yeah, good times.
Plus, there were always the Peanuts movies and things that you waited for as a kid all year, to see the Peanuts Christmas movie and
Oh, yeah, we touched on that one.
What about
Yeah.
the Christmas creature feature? I know it's just a subgenre of horror, but there's so many of them, like elves and Krampus and this kind of thing.
Yeah, good point. We do have gremlins on here as well. Yeah, Christmas creatures are a time-honored tradition. We mentioned some of these evil folkloric figures that sometimes can be a subversion of things that we know, like Rare Exports, which kind of reframes. I think they initially think that it is like the kid thinks it's an evil Santa, but it turns out it's like a race of Santa's wicked elves. They just kind of look like that, and there's a bunch of them. There's more than just one, so that's kind of an interesting one.
Are there
I
any
think
Christmas sports movies? The only one I can think of is Rocky IV, but that's like Christmas adjacent. It's not really a Christmas movie.
There's gotta be.
So
Red
If anyone
One,
knows one. Go ahead.
from last year played well, or it played around with a lot of folklore figures around Christmas time. They tried to kind of mix. It was almost like a blend of the Santa stuff, and then it tried to blend multiple genres together, which is admirable.
Yeah, sometimes we see other holiday characters kind of all interacting in the holiday canon, like in Rise of the Guardians or The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Hmm.
Sometimes we imagine they have some sort of community with each other where they're like friends or they're enemies or they know each other or they live in separate dimensions or something.
there's so many of those. That's gotta be a genre by this point.
The
The
sort of like
Christmas
holiday
cinematic
figure.
universe.
Yeah, the Xmas MCU. I think they typically do fit into the Santa slash magic kind of space. I guess by definition they sort of have to because they have like Easter bunnies and stuff. Although I guess is Nightmare Before Christmas kind of a Dickensian? Is Jack kind of like that? I guess it's more of a Grinch type, isn't it? Where doesn't he try to steal Christmas? I forget exactly the plot.
I think
Yeah,
he
yeah,
wa-
yeah. But he's like super like cynical. Like he's like ridiculously excited. So he has kind of he's not like trying to like he's trying to steal, but like in a lighthearted-ish way. He's not really grinchy about it.
No, I
Doesn't he
think he
get?
wants to embrace it, but he only knows
Yeah,
so much about it.
Oh, so he has the wrong idea of what it's like because he only knows
yeah,
Halloween.
yeah,
That's right. He lives in a
yeah.
world where everything's scary.
There's
I hate to say it, but does that make Bad Santa Dickensian?
We talked about it a little bit. It kind of ends up a little bit being one of those by the end. Like a little bit. He makes a little change. It's not like that diametric change that Scrooge makes, but it's like a step from A to B.
I
would
must
you
have missed
say
that moment.
anything with like ghosts or wishes sort of falls under the Dickensian umbrella, like that movie Jack Frost, if anyone remembers that, or
Oh yeah, with Michael Keaton.
Where he
yeah, I
possesses
think
the
so.
snowman.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's basically a
yeah,
talking cat movie, but with a snowman.
Yeah, it's sort of like
yeah,
Frosty,
yeah,
but with the soul of your
yeah,
dead dad becomes Frosty, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
pretty much.
It's kind of the Santa
There's,
magic genre without the Santa.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
like sentimental Christmas movies that involve like ghosts or loved ones coming back or moving on or this kind of thing.
That's true. I think yeah, they'll be either in Dickensian or Santa magic. There's a lot of crossover there.
A lot of romance uses, uh the I call it the Pulp Fiction token, so like with the watch, right? But in the romance, it's like this is the ornament that my great grandmother, or this is the special spoon that that my great grandmother who's no longer with us made the thing, and it's like it's the special thing that makes Christmas what it is or whatever, and it's super important, and it ends up being like no, it was the person that made it, it wasn't the thing.
Oh, right. Yeah,
It's
the
yeah,
magic
so
was
there's a
inside you all along.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's always some kind of like conduit. There's always like, an ornament, a snow globe, a baking dish, a thing.
A cookie recipe, perhaps.
A cookie recipe, a blueberry farm.
You and your blueberry farms. I feel like you've got to have one in your movie.
Yeah,
You're still writing that holiday romance movie,
yeah,
aren't you? Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Call it the Blueberry Farm.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a little pitch contest. I mean, I have some tips for you. We don't have to go through all of them. And I also do have prompts. So maybe I'll actually let's start with the prompts, then I'll go into the tips to give you guys some time to think, and then we'll go into the pitches. How does that sound? Okay. So I think for this we need a list of protagonists. I have a list of subgenres on the left that you can draw from if you want to. In the middle, I have protagonists, and on the right, I have a list of goals. But I'm going to need a bunch of ideas for who could be the hero of a Christmas movie. It could be anything. It could be just like a lizard, but or yeah, give us like an adjective and a noun. How about that? Just shout them out or write them in the chat. Let's see a big list. I'm gonna write an angry lizard.
happy-go-lucky blueberry farmer.
Okay. Keep it going. What else you guys got? Cynical Christmas tree lot owner. So many cynics.
A malfunctioning toy.
Great. He's just a squirt gun that shoots jam. What else you guys got? We have a few more spaces. Let's hear some more protagonist ideas. Idealistic hot cocoa salesman.
Anorexic Santa.
My God. My God.
No, it might not be that sensitive.
So dark. All right. Let's go with I see idealistic cocoa salesman. Let's pick some oddball out of the box kind of stuff that you guys haven't seen before too. Like let's hit like 2 or 3 things you've never seen in a Christmas
A
movie.
militant pangolin.
A militant pangolin. Thank you. For anyone that doesn't know, it's kind of like a shrew. It's like an armor. It's like a Pokemon.
It's like an armor, yeah, or an armadillo kind of thing. Yeah.
They're really cute, but also indestructible. Okay, let's do one more weird prompt for a protagonist.
I like Amy's. She says lost wizard.
Lost Wizard. Thank you, Amy.
Okay. I was gonna go with xenophobic prairie dog, but okay.
Okay, I'll add it to the list. All right. I will say, when I lived in Colorado, they were not very xenophobic at all. You could walk almost right up to them. They do not care.
That's exactly why a xenophobic prairie dog would be funny.
You're right. He's
All the prairie
he
dogs
stands
trying to
out.
get it to come out.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, and over here we have a list of goals. Must save Christmas, must find a missing Santa, must become some version of Santa, must get to the North Pole, is visited by 3 wise figures who show them the error of their immoral ways, or must destroy Christmas at all costs. Those are just some suggestions. Okay, so get thinking, or when we come to your turn, we could just assign you one if you want. But that's the list of suggestions. I'm going to go into a few tips for pitching and describing kind of just what we're doing here to give you some time to think, and then I will open the floor to volunteers. We also, we're thinking of this as a pitch contest, right, Nacho? So do we have a winner? Will we have a winner? Maybe if we have more than one person enter, we can declare a winner. What do you think? Are you still there, Nacho? Maybe not. That's okay. All good. All right. Let's do a few pitching tips. Look at these nice prizes that we could send, but we need people to enter to be able to send them. This beautiful coffee mug. And this nice stretchy t-shirt. The new version is a little darker yellow than that. And the text doesn't wear off as easily, and it's much softer. New shirt is very nice. I wear it on stream and to events. Okay, couple ideas on what we're actually doing here. You don't have to go into a full, beautiful, perfect pitch for this. This is to have fun. We're at the end of the year. We're having a little party. You can brainstorm and think of just what would be some things that could happen in that movie and what would that generally be shaped like. But the nice thing about working that way is that, well, the more you do that, and especially if I'm there weighing in constantly, and I'm trying to get better about jumping in too much, so I will let you just simply speak. The nice thing about simply talking about, well, what would probably happen in that? What are some things that might be in that movie will lead you towards a structure and will start to allow you to make choices and start to put things in a row. I think people freeze up on this a lot of the time when they're like, oh God, I have to tell this sequentially in order. I have to start with the cold open, then go into intro. Then I get stuck on something in the intro. Now I can't figure out the catalyst. Oh, what do I do? Don't get hung up or stuck on it. You have just talk more generally, more broadly about the kinds of things that would be in that movie. And that will start leading you to the point where you can begin to, if you want, arrange them sequentially and think of how would that actually flow from event to event. Don't feel like it has to be perfect right away. You're talking around the idea. Start from a high level. Think of what sort of movie would that be? What subgenre would that fit into? What would that poster look like? What would the core appeal of that be? What would some of those premise scenes look like? You should be starting from like the overall picture, zooming in on the middle of the movie, and then seeing where that leads you. And from there, maybe you can arrange that into something that has a beginning, middle, and an end. It's okay if you can't get it right. Don't feel pressure. It's just for fun. So try to just, you can just start talking and see if you land on something if all else fails. It's a tried and true improv type approach. So yeah, just have fun with it. In general, if you wanted to do a perfect, amazing pitch, you would lead with your comps or explanation of the tone, or just, I mean, since we're in more of the brainstorming pitch kind of world, just start with like, what does that make you think of? What kinds of ideas does that give you? What are some scenes you could see from that? What would the main character kind of be like? Just start like really high level before you dig down any deeper. But it can be helpful to start with, oh, that would be like a pulp adventure, sort of like The Mummy. Something that just clarifies exactly the kind of thing you're trying to make. Focus on that main character and on their journey and progression through it. We should be choosing that main character carefully so that they are specifically tested by the events of the story. Like, unless Scrooge was the most miserly guy of all time, it wouldn't really be that big of a change or that big of a character arc for him to become the most generous guy of all time, right? So be thinking about why this specific character and what traits of theirs are being uniquely tested in the crucible of this second act, and keep their motivation and urgency high. It should never really feel like they could leave at any point and be totally happy and fine. Once they're committed to the events of the story, they have to then play that situation out to the end to achieve their goal. Movies are about situations that can only happen one time in one way, not about a repeatable series of situations that could happen 1,000 different ways. So make sure it feels like not a setup, but one specific execution of a story. And if that requires you to just make arbitrary choices as you go through it, you should. And then Santa comes home and he meets his brother, who's a lawyer named Joe. Like, rather than just saying he meets a character and this character would do blank and he or she would do blank. Like, anytime you're saying he or she or this character, anything, means that you need to make a more specific choice for the most part. So don't leave things vague. Just be arbitrary. Make strong choices. Makes it more fun. And then what syndrome is often where these run into, and we might even hit this today in a certain way if you come up with a setup, but then just don't tell us where it goes, right? Here's a character, here's a situation, the end, rather than telling us, and then escalates like this, and then it gets crazy when this happens, and the midpoint this happens, and everything changes, and the stakes go sky high, and then our character is forced to dig down deep and change in this way. Like, you don't have to hit every single beat perfectly. You don't have to like illustrate this beautiful, amazing arc off the top of your head, but try to have a sense of like, how does this build? What is it? Where is it leading to? And how does it actually change and evolve as things get harder and more challenging for your protagonist over the course of the story? And last, we have just execution dependent, which is a big red flag where you're like, I don't know, it would just be funny or something like that, right? Where you're kind of relying on production elements to sell the idea. Whereas when we're approaching this as writers, we need to be allowing the idea itself to sell the story and the characters to like make good on the promises of that story, etc. So try not to tell us an idea for an idea, which is like, where is it? It's like, excuse me, it's like a one-take action movie like 1917, but it's in Vietnam instead. That's like a concept for an idea, but it's not even close to a specific story. So be specific and be concrete. I don't have to go into way too many of the other tips. I think we've got some of the basics down from there. Well, our goal will be to have you go into your idea of what that movie would be and talk for 2 to 3 minutes on it. You can tag me in if you want to, and I can riff with you or ask you questions or give you ideas, or you can just take it away. Totally up to you. And if we get at least 2 people entering, we will have some kind of winner and some kind of prize. Like this beautiful mug. Okay, you can use the prompts, but you don't have to. Volunteers.
I mean, I will if nobody volunteers. I just want to
Sure.
try some of these prompts.
Like the Hunger Games. I will volunteer.
I can start. I already went offline for one, so
Awesome, thanks guys.
me or Luke are happy to start.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first
Okay,
since I wrote the log line.
sounds good.
It came with the ridiculous idea of a militant pangolin.
Right.
After losing his family poachers, a militant pangolin vows to free the turkeys at the Christmas market. This is a vegan-friendly film.
Okay. Do you want me to ask questions?
That's
and
as far
talk
as
about
I've
it with you, or do
gotten
you want to
with
just take it away? Oh, go ahead.
This is as far as I have gotten with it, but I think that our opening sequence, of course, is him his family being taken away and him being terrified, and and sort of curled up in a ball, and he's got to go from, you know, that pangolin who's afraid of the world and curled up in the ball to, you know, he ventures out of, you know, his home, and he goes on this journey, and you know, he meets an escaped turkey from the turkey farm who is worried that all of his friends are going to be killed at the Christmas, and so they're going to be sold and killed at the Christmas market. And so the two of them, he and his new feathered friend, vow to save the turkey's family from the fate that his family has suffered. And then there is, of course, you know, the planning sequence and the training sequence as both our turkey and our militant pangolin grow in confidence. And you know, they've got to develop some sort of plan that only works because pangolins are super armored. And they manage to thwart the turkey farmer and the turkey salespeople and free the turkeys, who celebrate by having a giant vegan Christmas dinner.
All right, thank you for that. Can I ask a couple questions? Just
Please,
to-
that's the most ridiculous pitch I've ever made. So
Okay. Where do pangolins live?
pangolins live somewhere, I think in Asia. So it's completely misset in terms of setting. Absolutely makes no sense at all.
Well, it could make sense. I mean, especially, I think there's something also in that the word pangolin sounds a lot like penguin, right? So could it be even that like some kid tries to order a penguin or try to get their parents to get them a penguin from some exotic animal dealer and they end up with a pangolin instead? Something like that. Maybe it could be kind of interesting, the conflation of those two terms.
Or perhaps, you know, he escapes, you know, his family is he sees his family being killed and he escapes, and you know, he's been, you know, taken from his home to wherever it is he escapes from and doesn't know where he is. So he escapes from some, you know, some restaurant downtown, wherever, or whatever, you know, and has to be in this new, strange, crazy world.
Sure, sure.
Whether he
Like,
escapes from some, you know, yeah.
kind of like the Finding Nemo approach, where he's like taken out of his habitat, brought somewhere completely new, and now needs to adjust to this new crazy world of cars and civilization. If he's used to the wilderness of Dakota mentions there from Asia and Africa, yeah. So if we bring him to America, then suddenly he's a stranger at a strange land. His family's been killed, and now he's looking for revenge against the humans that have done this to him. Some good stuff there. Thanks for sharing that. The set piece or the I can see a big like finale to a set piece when he has to roll into a ball and then the turkey has to like run on top of him sort of thing as he like rolls down a hill. You know, you ever see a sequence like that? That would surely happen.
Oh, that's great. Or he rolls into a ball and then the turkey uses him to knock over the enemies like bowling.
Exactly. Yeah, he's rolling down a snowy hill too, so it snowballs into a giant big snowball, smash into all your enemies, and he's unharmed because he's got an invincible shield of scales. Good stuff. And he'd of course be bulletproof because, you know, bullets would just bounce right off of his armor. Some fun to be had there. Thank
Absolutely.
you for that. Anything else you want to share, say, on the militant pangolin and the turkey saving the turkey family?
No, that I think that wraps it up. I think if you just sort of picture, you know, the turkey bowling pangolins, I think that's who turned into giant snowballs. That's like that alone in itself, I think is a sequence worthy of Pixar.
Or of a mobile game. Could be a great Angry Birds type. Get it going on the iPhone. Thank you, Megan. Luke, you want to go next?
Sure.
So
I want to
Luke,
do.
just 1 second. But before you start, I'll just tell Amy that you'll be up after this, so be thinking of your idea. Go ahead, Luke.
I want to do something really hard. So we're doing anti-consumerist a depressed rock star must destroy Christmas at all costs.
Okay, take it away.
And he's gonna discover the true meaning of Christmas. So, uh, this is gonna be a romance at the heart, I think. But anyway, we start with this Norwegian black metal group led by this, you know, larger than life rock star guy who's like, I don't know if you know anything about Norwegian black metal, but it's like dripped in satanic imagery and like antichrist kind of stuff. So this musician absolutely hates Christmas. Well, not like he hates commercialism in general. Like he's at sort of the end of his rope with his career because of how commercial it's become and how empty, hollow everything is, and the world is just this consumerist hellscape. Christmas being sort of the apex of this thing that he hates, consumerism. Um, and the idea, or my idea, is he meets sort of his polar opposite, who is like the most Christmassy woman alive. The maybe she's named Carol. Maybe she works for some sort of like Christmas village type place or like a Make-A-Wish foundation that delivers candy to kids for the holidays or presents or something. Um,
Bell shop.
and we,
Carol of the Bells.
and we need like a terminally ill child who has like one Christmas wish that only the rock star can grant somehow. Like maybe the child wants to travel over, like he wants to see. Let's go with the Christmas village idea. Like maybe there's some, like if it's in Norway, maybe there's some place in like I don't know, Austria, Germany. There's got to be some town that's just like the most Christmassy place on earth, and this kid wants to see it more than anything before he dies of this terminal illness. Um, so in Act Three will be for the rock star to sort of like use his private jet to get this kid, you know, there on Christmas Eve or something, and of course throw like a big impromptu rock concert for everybody. Um, yeah, the details of the plot are a little vague in my brain, but I think something like that could work for sure as a just a premise.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you
I
want to
mean,
start poking holes in it, asking
sure.
questions, you can go ahead.
Sure, sure. So this is kind of, I mean, it reminds me a little of the Bad Santa dynamic of like you have the amoral main character that's forced in some sort of proximity or partnership with the kid that then by the end, although they start really resistant and cynical, they have gained some, they've, you know, reconnected with that spirit of the true meaning of the holidays and become a better person. I mean, for some reason, I'm only seeing Jack Black as this character, even though he's not Norwegian, but
I would be if you want to take it in a comedic direction, yeah, for sure.
were you thinking this would be a serious drama?
I was thinking it'd be more, yeah, more dramatic, you know, more like a little bit satirical, maybe. I don't know if you've seen like Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. It's like a parody of these musical biopics. So we go with sort of this dark tone, but it's all kind of tongue in cheek, you know, it's like this rock star at the, you know, having all these problems and dealing with drugs and addiction and like, you know, the his life unraveling all around him. Um, but then insert him into this like cozy, feel good, like Christmas movie kind of thing where he, you know, gives a Make-A-Wish kid his final request or something.
Sure.
Um,
It sounds comedic, a little bit more comedic to me, maybe just because I'm only seeing comedy set pieces from it. But
yeah, I think
if you were to take it more of
satirical
the,
or parody.
yeah, that could definitely work. I mean, it could also work in a straight serious movie. I guess it's
I'd
maybe the
want
fact that
somebody
you
more
called her
like
Carol that made me think it was more good.
what's that guy's name? Like Sven, or Thor Sven Olsen. I'm butchering his name, but some like big like muscle man rock star type guy. Or maybe somebody more like the Crow, like kind of stringy, strung out looking. Um, but probably not Jack Black is how,
Okay.
at least in my imagination.
So you'll go with the grungy kind of rock star, not the funny rock star. And if I was understanding correctly, you're saying the woman he meets is the one that ends up being the one working with this Make-A-Wish charity, and that's why he is going on this trip with both her and the kid.
I think so. Yeah, I think she would be uh his sort of gateway into like humanity and like,
Yeah.
oh, you're actually like a good person and you're like helping all these children and you're doing something non-commercial, which is my whole, the thing that's been killing me is all the commercialism. So yeah,
Maybe
I
even
think it could work.
if you even start this kind of thing off with imagine they have like an anti-Christmas concert or something like that. Like you're opening like it's your character bites the
Yeah,
head off a reindeer on stage or something. I don't know like
exactly. Yeah.
what that would
An-
be.
Anti-Christmas. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
perfect for a Norwegian black metal band.
And maybe that there's like a little controversy or backlash as a result, like the kind that they would legitimately not want. I don't exactly know how bad that could be. What does he like throw a cup of eggnog
Oh
in
yeah,
someone's
and the
eyes or
little
something?
kid could have been like this could have been his favorite band and this guy could have been his hero up until the point he threw the anti-Christmas concert. And now he's like,
Okay,
now
that was a bridge
he's
too far.
depressed. Yeah, he's
Right, right,
depressed. And he's sad because, his hero hates Christmas and but he loves Christmas because
right.
his best friend, this woman, is the Christmas lady.
That's actually kind of fun. I think there's something about the that connection there, in that conversation between them where he comes to meet this kid that is like super super into Christmas, but he's like, I thought you were a fan of me. You can't be a fan of both. Like you have to like death metal is the antithesis of Christmas. But I guess by the end you'd sort of have him bring him to this point where he's like, it doesn't have to be. Like
Yeah.
you can be a
And then we
death metal
throw a big
fan.
concert.
Yeah, and then
It looked like the
you do Christmas
synthesis.
carols in death metal style. Exactly. Exactly. That's actually a pretty good character arc woven in there. The fact that it is sort of more along the lines of the Dickensian, isn't it? Where it's like the main character has lost touch with the people that and things that matter in his life, and he's almost like taking it out on Christmas, which is how a lot of these characters are sort of portrayed. It's like Christmas becomes like a lightning rod for all the other issues in their life, and they can say, "I hate it. It's no good. It's the reason," or it's like the worst time of the year. But really, the fact that they feel that way is indicative of all the other things that are wrong in how they live and how they treat others. Would you say that's your understanding of that too?
Oh, definitely. And we could also give him some kind of core childhood trauma, you know, that explains all this hatred of Christmas. And then
Yeah,
he sort of, I don't know, uh, alleviates the trauma by helping this kid enjoy Christmas.
Christmas metal. There's something there. Pretty good. Thanks for sharing this idea. Anything else you want to add to this one?
I can't think of anything.
Call it Carol of the Hells or something like that. I'm sure there's like is there some Christmas carol that you can repurpose and make it sort of sound death metal-y somehow? There might be a good title out
Sleigh
there.
bells, SLAY.
There you go. Uh, thank you for that. Good concepts there. I saw Amy next. Do you want to give it a shot?
Sure. That was such a great pitch. Holy cow.
Nice work, Luke.
Oh my God, and a great title. Okay, I came up with The Wizard Has Lost His Way. And I'm gonna put it under, I wrote, I guess, Magic, Santa, Children. I don't know where it would go.
Okay.
But a wizard has lost his way and ends up becoming a new, maybe futuristic or better Santa. He travels and meets different groups of people. Maybe he can meet some children at an orphanage or school. Maybe he can meet someone newly arrived, like an older adult from another country, or someone who has, or a third group would be he lost someone who lost their job or lost their home, some tragedy, something happened. And this wizard is gonna maybe by meeting these three groups of people, he's going to think about what he's done in the past and how he can make himself better.
All right. Thanks for sharing this. Can I ask a few questions just to clarify this one?
Yes, ask away.
Okay. So you say he's lost his way. I kind of thought you meant literally to begin with, but do you mean sort of like morally or like emotionally he's lost his way?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what does that mean exactly? So like you're saying before he was like a happy and fulfilled person, but now he's not? Or what in what way has he lost his way?
Maybe he's not, his magic isn't working, so he's lost like his magical touch.
Okay. Wizard is starting to lose his magic. That sounds pretty urgent and like a good inciting incident. But how does this connect with him? How does he become like? Are you saying then he has to like use Santa to get his power back somehow, or is there a Santa in this world, or is there not?
Yes, I think I'd like him to get his magic back and like be even do really great things.
Okay. And was he doing great things before? Or are you saying this is like a new change for him?
It's a change.
Okay. And what motivates the change? Do you think?
Maybe something that he did in his past. Maybe he performed a spell that caused harm instead of good.
But but so we want to watch your character change over the course of the movie. So you probably don't want to make that backstory. You probably want to make that
No,
part
okay.
of the movie itself, right? So your catalyst in that case sounds like maybe your wizard makes a mistake. As a result, now people are mad at him or don't want him to be a wizard anymore, and maybe starts losing his powers. Does that sound how like what you're going for there, or do I have that wrong?
Yeah, he can make a mistake. I'm open.
Okay.
Nothing is set in stone.
Okay. I'm just trying to
So
figure
he
out the
can make a
connection between.
mistake and then
Go ahead.
he could become better.
Okay, but so like the Christmas genre is about characters that over the whole story is about them learning how to become better, right? They don't just become better in one scene. So you have to come up
No.
with a right. So the scenario that your character. So it sounds like you're saying he becomes kind of like a surrogate or replacement kind of Santa Claus, and decides
Yes.
to. Okay, so the question would
And
be
he
why.
really becomes, instead of a wizard, maybe he becomes like a Santa Claus. Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna have to just connect some earlier events to make that make sense. So you could say, for instance, that when this wizard starts losing his powers, maybe he goes to Santa, meets up with Santa, and is like, "I want my powers
Oh.
back." And Santa could say, "Why don't you take mine?"
Oh,
Kind of a Santa
kinda
Claus
cool.
kind of situation. I mean, if you have a different idea of how to connect those things, I'm all ears. I'm just trying to like connect the dots so that we see how one thing leads to the next.
No.
Okay. So
Right.
if the wizard is losing his power and needs to, Santa is like a source of power, right? Who could give you more? Maybe he goes to the North Pole. Santa
Yes.
gives him a fraction of his own, or gives him the what is it like? Gives him the hat or something that allows him to like do Santa
Yeah, I wrote
stuff.
that down, that he's going toward the North Pole. I put that down. He's eventually going to get to the North Pole.
Okay, great. So you've got your first couple structural beats. First of all, we have to know what the wizard does normally. That would be like your first 10 or so minutes of the movie. The catalyst would, if he makes some sort of mistake or loses his mojo in some kind of way, we'd want to probably see that as the catalyst to understand why he's losing his powers now, unless it's a mystery about him trying to figure out why. In which case, by the end, when he reconnects with the generosity and spirit of Christmas, that's probably when he would get his powers back if you're following a very traditional structure. I'm sure you've seen stories like that. So once he gets the powers from Santa, that would sort of be your break into your second act, and now he is sort of like this replacement Santa Claus. So now we'd be watching your main character as he tries to do Santa type stuff, struggling with it, but ultimately this is where like the meat of your movie would be. So how do you see that sequence?
Maybe there's like some magic spell that makes him a better Santa. He gets some like a different kind of spell or power.
Could work. Or if he was just a purely selfish wizard before who'd never heard of Santa, and now he's being presented with like this is like kindness and generosity magic, and he doesn't know how to use it. Could be kind of interesting to see him try to solve problems in his old ways, but now realize that the powers he's been given only allow him to do kindness as opposed to being a selfish, nasty wizard.
Oh, yeah, that's good too. A selfish wizard
You're
trying to become more kind.
Usually if it's a Christmas story about a character that loses their way, then we have to see their sort of like we talked today a bit about all these miserable cynical characters. So
right, trying to find their way. Yeah.
Right, right. So we have to, in order
Like
to
the
say a
Scrooge.
character, exactly. So if a character loses their way, we kind of have to know how they were before and what they're sort of trying to get back to, right? So that's why I was asking the questions about like what would those first 10 minutes be before the catalyst, and how does he actually like get those powers, and what does that mean for him? I know I'm asking a million
I could
questions.
use all the help in the world. You know, I love you, Connor, and you always make me think harder. So I totally, this is still new to me. Everything is new to me.
You're doing great. And let's maybe just think of what the finale would be. So if
Oh my gosh. Oh,
if
finale. Wow.
yeah,
You guys are so good. You're able to see your stuff. I cannot even, maybe that's why I struggle. I know I struggle with conflict. I know that's a problem. And I've yet to figure out the endings of things. I can't see it yet.
that's okay. You'll get there. So usually when you're thinking of a good finale, you kind of think of like, what's the craziest this could go? What would be an awesome set piece or a sequence where the character would have to prove the way that they've changed over the course of the story, and maybe in some, big visual kind of set piece, right? And that might be
Maybe he's with Santa and he gets this great wish with Santa and everyone's there to see him. He makes some big grand, something moves within him and he gets the magic power back.
okay, definitely. I could see that, especially if excuse me, especially if this whole, the question in the movie is like, what is he supposed to do with his power, right? He has magic, but he hasn't been using it the right way. He hasn't been using it to make people happy. And then
No.
for the finale, I guess you'd want to bring him to a situation in which he either has the opportunity to use unchecked power, or like everyone like has lost faith in him that he would do the right thing, but you sort of have to find some other reason for him to say, I'm going to like learn Santa's lesson and learn how to be more like him.
Right.
So
I want to learn from Santa. Yeah.
right, right. Even if, and maybe to begin with, then you have to kind of go back and say, maybe to begin with, my character is really frivolous and exploitative with Santa's powers. Maybe at first he's like, what an idiot. He shouldn't have given me these. Now I'm just going to use these to rob banks and, go get drunk with my friends and have parties. You know what I mean? And then we sort of kind of have some fun with that. But then you start adding up the cost of that. And then by the end, it's like, oh crap. Santa said in order to use these powers, I would have to make the charity drive work, and I'd have to deliver all these presents to these kids on this list. I only have a day to get that ready, and then we sort of see how he struggles.
Right. What if
with
I
that.
can't do it? Yeah. What if it doesn't
Exactly.
happen?
Right, and maybe you could even lead your character to a point where, especially if it's like a question of power, often these stories end up in a place where by the end he sort of surrenders it and is like, I'm not worthy of it. Like, you can have it back. I was using it wrong. I was irresponsible. But because they have that revelation, they're sort of rewarded by getting the power back, and we get to have your cake and eat it too. There's lots of good potential there. Could easily be like an animated movie like Rudolph, right?
Okay, you could help me. I'll give you lots of credits and stuff. We could totally do this together. I'd be glad to
Okay.
share with you.
Thank you.
And
That's the spirit of
I hope it makes lots of money for all of us.
God bless us, everyone.
Let me give the money back to your camp. To your script.
Yeah,
That's-
you generously give all the money to me.
Help young writers like me, film
There you
writers.
go. There you go. Exactly. We are.
And we turn into a book too, because we're writers. We turn into a book.
Yeah, we gotta tell it. We gotta retell and recap the legend for all time. Thank
And we're
you for
gonna
that.
add some songs. I'm gonna add some songs for my songwriting group because I'm working with a song person. They asked me to do another song, so
Perfect.
we're gonna add some music to it.
All right, something for everyone. Thanks, Amy.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Hefty, do you want to be our last volunteer?
I can, don't matter.
Go right ahead. You're next.
So I typed it in there. It just says, on the last Christmas before his oldest child leaves for college, Hobbit blueberry farmer Barry Balgans vows to make it perfect until Santa and the elves in the North Pole vanish. He comes together with a half-built, malfunctioning group of toys. Barry must track down the missing elves and Santa and deliver Christmas himself before his family's final holiday is gone for good.
All right. Thank you for that. A Hobbit Christmas. So does this take place in the Shire?
So everything I write is going to be cartoony. So it's going to be just a cartoon. Yeah, I was picturing like the Shire.
Okay, so this is a version of Middle Earth that has the Christmas tradition.
Yeah.
And Santa and the elves in the North Pole vanish. Okay, so the Shire is really looking forward to Christmas every year, or do they not know about it yet?
Yeah, they're always looking forward to it. And then, like I said, this is like his last one with his family, like all of his family together was what I pictured in my head.
Right.
So he wanted it to be perfect.
Right. Okay, because the kid's leaving for college and he doesn't think they'll come back for holidays in the future. Maybe because the college is so far away, something like this.
Yeah, so I'm picturing like a younger child who's really looking forward to it, and an older one leaving. So there's like a dynamic.
Okay, that works well. Santa and the elves in North Pole vanish. I guess that'd be how would the hobbits know that? Wouldn't they sort of just go a year without Christmas? I wonder if like Santa writes them a note or something that explains why he's gone. What do you think?
I don't know. I hadn't got that far yet.
Well, now's the time. Now's the brainstorming. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking. I don't. Yeah, maybe they write a letter to Santa or something, and it just doesn't get answered. I really don't know. I hadn't thought about that part yet.
That could work. So maybe we miss Christmas. They write a letter to Santa asking why not, and they get like the form reply that's like Santa is currently uh out of commission for whatever reason. This is just like in the interest of getting your character on the track of his journey. So he comes together. You mentioned he comes together with a half-built malfunctioning group of toys.
So
Interesting.
in my head, like
Okay.
they go up there to find the elves and Santa, and then all of a sudden there's just nothing up there. It's almost like a ghost town. The only thing left is the stuff that doesn't work. I
Great.
kind of pictured like robots, the cartoon movie where it's just like the malfunctioning robots, kind of like that with just toys.
Okay, so Barry goes to investigate. He goes to the North Pole to check it out and find out what happened
Yeah.
to Santa. Why did he send me? Why did I get this form reply that said he's out of commission? I get to the North Pole, and while your character is there, they find the factory abandoned, and it's filled with only malfunctioning toys that he now needs to team up with. Maybe they have some clues for him or some idea of where Santa might have gone. Kind of has that brave little toaster vibe to it. You say
Kind of what I
Barry.
pictured, yeah.
Right? Barry must track down the missing elves and Santa. Okay, so the elves are gone too, and deliver Christmas himself before his family's final holiday's gone for good. So that kind of sounds like when he finds them, then they're not able to deliver Christmas on their own. I wonder why he would be the one that needs to do it if he ends up finding them. Unless you're saying he doesn't find them.
Yeah, kind of my thought was maybe he didn't find them in time.
Oh,
But like I said, hadn't got there that far.
well, that's what we're doing now. So that's a pretty dark uh Christmas story to find Santa's legitimately gone, and the only way to do it is for me to do Christmas myself. But it could work, especially if Barry becomes sort of the new Santa and takes up residence at the North Pole, or maybe moves it down to the Shire and continues the tradition after Santa's passed. I wonder what happened to Santa. Did he get? It sounds like he got kidnapped almost, or something like that. Was Jack Skellington to blame?
I was kind of thinking about that, putting like a Krampus type of villain or something that just kidnaps Santa. I don't know.
There you go. That might also be if that turns out to be a character that we find out about, and as we're investigating, looking for where Santa and the missing elves have gone. That Krampus character would then get wind of your character and realize, uh-oh, Santa has a replacement. Now I have to take him out next, which would add a little pressure in the latter half of your movie. So now not only does Barry have to become Santa, he has a monster that's sort of chasing him down, trying to ruin Christmas. What do you think?
That's kind of what I was picturing. Yeah.
Cool. Could lead to an interesting sort of chase sequence in the finale as he's trying to deliver the presents as a monsters after him. Anything else you want to add there?
Not really.
All right. Thanks for volunteering. Sounds
No
like a
problem.
fun one. Okay, we have just 13 minutes left in the event. Did anybody not go who wants to try one of these pitches? I also see a Luke comment in the chat. What if there was a reverse religious Christmas movie? Satan is depressed in Scrooge-like because Jesus gets all the attention, but over the course of the movie, he grows to learn Christmas isn't about giving goodwill. It's about greed and avarice and all the things that Satan loves. That's pretty good. That's got a nice kind of like direct in like that's not even a subversion as much as it is an inversion of Christmas themes. I wonder if there's some little kid at the beginning who like believes in the magic and actually needs to have that belief beaten out of them, so to speak. Like it's a kid that starts the story hopeful, but then the adults teach them the lesson that no, there's nothing to be happy and joyful about. Christmas is all about how rich you are, and if you're not rich, well, you deserve to be sad. Like maybe there's just a version that goes like that.
I was thinking more like Satan himself is just this Scrooge character, and he's he's like avoided Christmas for, I don't know, centuries because it makes him depressed. And I don't know who or how or why, but somebody would sort of, by the end of the movie, point out to him, like, no, look at what Christmas is now. It's everything you love. People, kill each other on Black Friday, and suicides go up, and, greed is out of control. And like, this isn't about Jesus at all. Like, this is your holiday, and that warms his heart three sizes. And
I see.
he gets out of his depression. Is like, he puts on his little Santa hat, pulls out his tree. I don't know. I don't know how I would end it.
About Santa sort of claiming Christmas, and rather than like embracing it as it is, it's about him sort of reframing the tenets of Christmas to apply to him more. Is that right?
Satan, not Santa, but yeah.
Oh, did I say Santa? My mistake. So what was that?
There's
the
same difference, if you ask some people.
Right. Well, yep, there is also that movie Dear Satan, which is about the kid that writes the letter to Santa but spells it wrong and summons Satan instead. That I think was Jack Black, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think it was.
I should see it if it is.
I don't know if he was Satan or Santa. I think he was Santa, not Satan. Anyway, yeah, I think there's a lot of fun to be had in this one. The sort of like it's in that kind of like little Nicky tradition of like sympathetic demons and devil characters that kind of have gleefully evil dramatic arcs to them sometimes.
Yeah.
I'd watch it for sure. It also might get boycotted or whatever, but controversy helps sell the tickets.
That's true.
Let's open the floor to any questions, comments, or thoughts to wrap up. We're almost at the last classes of the year. I think do I have one more? We're trying a lab on the 26th, but I don't expect anyone to be there because we've tried it before. No one ever shows up the day after the holiday, but we will attempt. Last thoughts? Okay, we can wrap up for today. We have one event later today from members. We do have a lab session. That is from 3 to 5, which is earlier than the normal lab sessions. That has been moved to accommodate table read. We are pretty much through the boot camps for this year, but we'll be starting new boot camps next year. Feature, TV, and novels. We can write a whole novel from idea to finished draft, a whole feature script, or a full TV pilot in just 8 weeks for the feature, 6 weeks for TV, 12 weeks for the novel. Those will be starting in probably mid to late January or early February, as well as our in-person events, which will be happening bi-weekly at least at the Boyle Heights Arts Conservatory in downtown Los Angeles for some nice, more personal classes where we actually show up rather than doing the online thing. We will wrap up here for today. Thank you all for coming. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night, or whatever holidays you celebrate, and we'll look forward to seeing you more in the new year.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.